guys, welcome back to the channel. If you've been here before, thank you. And if you're new, like, share, and hit that little bell. And that way you'll be notified of all my uploads. But let's just get into this. I know we've seen this young man, Bryson Muir's face all over the news, and it's unfortunate. But his grandmother was the one. Now, this took place. There's two locations where this scene took place, one in Indiana and one in Ohio. And it's been said that there was some sort of situation where the father, who was a former NFL player, big guy, allegedly struck his child. This is what it's been alleged. But, you know, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, according to our judicial system. So it's been alleged that there was some interactions or maybe alleged inappropriate interactions his son had with somebody else or children. This is what's being said on another news outlet. And he proceeded to allegedly discipline or whoop his son. And this is the result, the black eye. I don't know if the wife or Bryson's mother, it was her idea to transport him to his grandmother's house in Ohio, but it was said that he was transported to Ohio. But when the grandmother saw him, she became very upset, concerned. There was allegedly some sort of altercation, and I guess the mother of Bryson maybe thought the grandmother wasn't going to say anything, but any prudent grandmother would be upset if she saw her grandson's face looking like this. It was alleged that this didn't go over well with the grandmother, and the grandmother took pictures of his face, right? So now it's documented, and then they swooped up and took Bryson back because I guess, the grandmother was probably saying, no, this is not right. How did his face get like that? So they swooped up, took him back, but the grandmother called 911. And this is how this whole situation got started. And that took place on June the 16th. This 911 call is very brief. This is all that was released to the public, but let's take a listen to it.
Last seen Sunday, June 16th in Garfield Heights.
911, what is your emergency?
I have my grandson who's badly abused by his parents. I mean, he's 14.
Okay.
He's being abused.
So that was the 911 call you heard from the grandmother. The dispatcher said, what is the issue? She said, I have my grandson. He's being abused by his parents. She didn't say parent. She said parents. And she's like, he's 14 years old. The dispatcher said, okay. And she said, he's being abused. And I have to, imagine if you were in a situation like this, they scooped up the child. And when they pulled him over, I guess, he wasn't in the car. So the cops are thinking that maybe there was a second vehicle. But after the 16th, they had not been able to, it was said that there was a couple of appointments set up for the parents to bring the child in so they could just lay eyes on the child. And those were canceled. So as a result of the cancellation, and you have to understand where the police department comes in, because this has been all over YouTube. It's been all over the internet. And imagine if they got there and did not go in and, get a warrant and search the property for the child, and he somehow or another ended up not alive or worse, injured really, really badly, worse than he was here in this picture, or unalived, where the fault would be with the law enforcement, So people can say what they want to say, but if law enforcement, and it's just like with anybody, like I said in my other video, if CPS is called, Child Protective Services, the one thing that they want to see is the child. They want to make sure the child is okay. And there have been many instances throughout the United States and the world where they were like, oh, we don't have them. And then the child ends up unalive somewhere. So my hat's off to the grandmother for making this phone call and really getting this out here, documenting. She documented his face. And maybe that's what the issue was when she took that picture, probably with her cell phone, that may have, set off some alarms with the parent, the mother of Bryson, where she was like, okay, this is not going to go the way I thought it would. And she done took pictures, so now we got to go ahead on and take this child. This is what I'm assuming. I don't know if this is what happened, but I guess it will show up in the courts. They're charging the mom with obstruction, and I think the dad with battery. Now, I'm not anti disciplining your child, but when a child ends up looking like this to me is way past discipline. Whoever did this, and they haven't established who has done this yet. If this was a parent, then I would consider this to be abuse, period, point blank. There are a lot of people who wear as a badge of honor, even the generation before me and the generation before that. You'll hear people say, yeah, my grandmother and my grandfather, my uncle, we got hit with extension cords, and we got hit with the pipe from the back of, we got hit with the wires from the telephone company, and we got beat with the double Dutch rope, and then we got that was really abuse, guys. There are still some people today who are traumatized by that. And some people, even my grandmother, I remember her saying her dad, where they lived on a farm back in South Carolina, I don't know if he said he beat her or her brothers or sisters, but she said the beating was so bad, she vowed never to beat her kids. She says, you never beat your kids in anger. I think her father was angry about something and beat them, and it was a severe whooping. I mean, severe, to the point where you would get taken from your parents by CPS. There are a lot of people who I hear say, oh yeah, my mother beat me. Now, my grandfather, he would do all the whooping because my grandmother wasn't beating nobody. But my grandfather was blind. He couldn't see. So when he pulled off that big brown leather belt, the real leather ones with the hard buckle, he was wailing all over the place. And maybe some people got hit that wasn't supposed to get hit, and belt buckles upside the head. That was abuse, guys. That's let me call it what it is. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't discipline your child, but some of that was too much. Extension cords, like you taking the extension cord off of the iron, that will leave all type of welts and bruises and stuff. That it's stinging. Oh my God. Now, I'm not saying don't discipline your child, but this is abuse. When you blacking and blueing, you choking out your kids. That is abuse. I don't care what anybody says. You should not be punching your kids in the face, punching them in the chest, choking them out, stomping on them, getting extension cords, throwing stuff at them. That's no. I'm not saying you're not going to get angry, but if you are that angry, you need to go sit down and cool it somewhere. So I'm appreciative to the grandmother for calling. She basically said, I think in some of the other news broadcasts, that she was kind of estranged from her daughter. And I guess her daughter is a part of that straightway community, that religious organization, and they live on that compound. And so she probably doesn't get a chance to see her kids, her daughter, and her grandson. But she was saying it's been some years, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that she had not seen her grandson or her daughter. The first to lay eyes on your grandson after a period of time and to see him looking like this, it would be shocking. It would be astonishing. I would be shocked, and I would call the cops too. So she did the right thing, and I want to commend her for doing what she did. Her grandson is 14 years old. And the fact that he said, well, I deserved it. Now, there's some allegations as to why this was done. And they're saying that they listened to some phone calls from prison. And a lot of people understand those phone calls are listened to, monitored, and some of them can be released by way of the Freedom of Information Act. And it's been said, now this is alleged, I don't know if this is true, but I heard on another news outlet that the father allegedly said, yeah, I beat him like a man because he inappropriately did something to another child. So I don't know if that was the auspice for this occurring, but if that is true, once we find out all of those people who are going to be charged, then, if another adult did this to him, regardless of who it was, I'm calling this abuse. So the child is still in, I think, protective custody. I don't know if he's been handed over back to the grandmother. I'm not sure. However, because a lot of times they want to get the child back to, the next of kin. So, I'm not sure if he's back with his grandmother, but I don't know if the other kids are still there in the household. I don't know what's going on, but this 911 call was made. This grandmother documented this with her cell phone, and I commend her for doing that. And this also speaks to some parents feel it's okay to do certain things as far as way of discipline, but enough is enough when it comes to getting out extension cords. I hear, yeah, I got beat with an extension cord. Yeah, I got beat with a pliers. Yeah, I got beat. And it's like, it's almost like a badge of honor. Yeah, we used to get beat with that. But that's one of the reasons why there's so much trauma, because that's, to me, I'm not saying you should not discipline your children. That is not what I'm saying. But there's a point where it's too much. And this was way too much. But I'm definitely commending the grandmother for making the 911 call. She basically said he's being abused by his parents. Now, if the mother is standing there watching and she's not doing anything, she's part and parcel with it. They're not charging her with the battery, but both parents will be, neglect or abuse. They can both be charged with something like that. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. This is the 911 call. I hope this young man is healing. And, just the fact that his face is all over the news, I hope he gets the help that he really truly needs, because the incident is traumatizing. I don't know what else in his life has been traumatizing, but just this being all over the news is really traumatizing. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Again, I commend the grandmother I know this probably wasn't easy, but it was the right thing to do. So y'all let me know what you think. Let's get in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll see you on the next upload. All right, y'all. Peace, and I'm out.